It is about 4:15 in the afternoon on October the 27th. This is a significant day for me, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But I want to talk first about what we're planning on for today. This is another day where we have a southeast easterly wind, and this is the other stand besides the microplot that I feel that is safe enough to be hunting. And it's actually a pretty good one from a visibility standpoint because I can see our 2-acre main food plot, and then I can also see the thin strip, which is literally just down the hill from me. And I actually took my buck from 2 years ago right here, and it's a pretty significant area of travel. And this is the closest stand that I had to that thin strip. Matter of fact, of the trail camera pictures over the past week, this has been probably the most traveled. Now, mostly in the morning, and we may be coming back here in the morning depending on what goes on today. But this is really a pretty cool stand because of the visibility that I get and the opportunity for the deer just to kind of filter through. There's no food right in front of me, but they can move between the food, so it's pretty cool. All right, so let me talk about the significance of October the 27th. And last year on the 27th of October, I was up in this stand and I saw one of the biggest deer I've ever seen live, and that was that Stickers buck. And I got most of the footage of him after shooting light. I had it on my camera on low light, and that's why the picture is a little bit jumpy there. It's because it has a setting that doesn't allow you to film as nicely as when you have regular light. But I had seen that buck from a distance around the corner chasing some does, and he ended up on a couple other cameras the next couple days at night working some vine scrapes. But he was a pretty big buck, and so I decided to leave all my gear up in the stand, and then I tried to quietly get out as quickly as I can on the evening of the 27th and slip out into the creek and get out of here with the intention of coming back in the morning. Unfortunately, as I was moving down the bank to the creek, I wasn't expecting it. Oh, by the way, I wasn't wearing my light, which was a big factor too. But anyway, the bank gave way. I knew there was a pool of water, so I put out my left arm to try to brace myself. I actually hit a tree first, and then as I fell further into the water, I must have hit a rock or a submerged log, and I just shattered my forearm near my wrist, and it was not good. I thought that ended my season. That was true from a compound bow and tree stand situation. But after I got my fracture surgically repaired, I applied for a Iowa crossbow license permit that was temporary, and I was able to use that to harvest my biggest buck to date, which was that 165-inch 14-pointer that came in to me last year, which is a really cool story. But that's not going to happen this year. And one of the reasons that's not going to happen, that fracture or any injury, is number one, I use all my safety gear going up and down a stand all the time, so I didn't happen going up or down the stand. But I changed my route going down to the creek. And so while I am waiting for some deer to hopefully show up, I want to show you real quick what I did differently this year and how that's changed how I approach to and from this stand and one of my other stands that I use to get off of the creek from this area. Check this out. So this is a big deal. I'm standing in the creek bed not far downstream from when I fell because the bank gave way last October and fractured my arm in several spots. And I knew I was gonna have to make it a safer situation this year. And because of the heavy rain events this past summer, Mother Nature made the decision for me. There's a pond down here and I can't afford to drain it and take the risk of it filling back up again. So we had to go on an alternative path. So the first thing we did was I took a ladder from a ladder stand, and that got me up the bank safely. And so that's part one. And then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna walk down the pathway that I literally cut out through the toughest part of the woods, and that's gonna get us to the next part. So yesterday we were clearing this out, and here's some review of some of the nastiness that I was getting out of here, full of briars. And it was pretty much a mess, which means it's unlikely the deer are getting through here. There's not really any path. So what this is doing is this is getting me over to the point where I can get to last year, merging back up with how I got up the hill. Now, I have an intersection here. To my right is down to the pond, or the ponded area of the creek. And to my left is where I traditionally will go up to that tree stand. And I'm definitely not going down to the pond anymore. That's where I fell. Now it's gonna be much safer, and I'll show you what I have next. All right, so we've turned left, and this is how we're getting up to the tree stand. And if you remember before, this was all pretty much muddy. And so I went ahead and carved out the steps, and for the first time I put in bricks. Again, there's some clay in here, so I was able to put some of the clay to kind of lock these in, but the reality is that it's not gonna be a permanent situation. I'll probably have to do some maintenance, but it is so much easier to get up. Matter of fact, I can go up here pretty much with no problem. And then I'm able to come all the way up to the top. And now I'm able to go up to my stand. Pretty sweet. That project was kind of a pain because of all the new pathway that I had to create, but it was absolutely necessary. And if I didn't say this, the biggest risk that I have from where the ladder is where that route is that the deer come off the creek up into the area right in front of me here, which is where I shot that buck a couple of years back. They use that quite frequently. So it isn't an issue that's not heavily traveled enough that I'm worried about running it into them. I could, I guess, but it's pretty rare. But I don't want to leave any scent as I'm going up. So anyway, I'm able to get up here safely. I am not going to go down the way I did before. Number one is because I can't, because of how the water has changed the layout of the creek anyway. I wasn't going to mess with this area, but even if it was the same, I was going to do something similar with the ladder. So definitely something I would remind anybody that's a bow hunter that likes to use tree stands. And if you're traveling up and down some hills or anything where you potentially could fall, always wear a light. Always. Even if you think you're going to spook some deer, you can use the green lights like I do that tend to spook the deer less, but it is not worth what I went through, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. All right, let's get back to looking for deer. I hope something shows up. All right, well, it's about 5:45, and it's been quiet except for some squirrels and chipmunks. It's been pretty slow, but that's okay. Stopped about a half hour before the sundown, and then a half hour after that for shooting light. It is cloudy, so that does change. Even if the official shooting light is a half hour after sunset, sometimes I just can't see if something comes out later. So we'll just gauge it on what's ethical if something does come out. But we'll just kind of hang tight here, and if something comes out, I'll definitely show you. And if not, I will check in with you next time. I might be out here tomorrow morning. We're going to get some rain tomorrow, so about midday. So it might be a good morning with that pressure changing and the front coming in. So I haven't seen a lot of activity in the morning. It's a good time to start getting out to hunt morning. So we'll see. All right, let's see if anything shows up. Wow, that was cool. I think that was the buck I've called Sim 10 because he's so symmetrical. It was literally a minute after I finished my last interview and he popped out in the food plot. The closest he got was probably 50 yards. And I was hoping he'd come closer to me, but you'll notice he had some attention farther close to that wood line. Just up the hill from me. I think it may have been another deer, but anyway. He ended up walking that way. Unfortunately, I was hoping he'd maybe come down this hill down to the thin strip, but super cool to see him. He's the only deer I've seen so far, but I have about 15 minutes shooting light left here, so if I see anything else, I'll show you. Otherwise, I'll close this out. I think I'm going to probably come out tomorrow morning for sure. So, alright, let's see. That was pretty cool. That's a nice deer.